2 weeks ago, many of you who saw it were outraged to see a video of a white woman being discriminated against by a Vancouver venue called the Birdhouse when she had simply gone there to attend a music event called the Bastard Barbecue. Remember this?
I'm at the Bastard Barbecue right now. All my friends are in there. But I guess supposedly since I have wool in my hair, I'm not allowed in. And there's a big voucher thing that they want me to read and sign, and they want to give me, they want to refund my money and not let me in, and I just paid $60.
And she told me that I couldn't come in because my hair could potentially be offensive to Black people.
That was a clip of a longer, since gone viral video that was first reported on by True North's Alex Sultan. But what you don't know is since then, I caught up with that woman who was being discriminated against. Her name is Crystal Clearly. I wanted to see how she was feeling after the steam had cooled down, and we went back to the scene of the discrimination. And to my surprise, during the interview with her, I learned that the bullying she experienced begging her way into that event didn't stop there. No, it continued via emails where the owners were pressuring her to take down the video, the evidence, if you will, of how she was being treated. Those owners' names are Paige Fewer and Riz Braz. By the way, Paige Fewer identifies sometimes as a drag king named Pony Boy, which some men could find offensive for appropriating the male species, just as they said Crystal Clearly's hair was for appropriating Black people.
You want a video of this right now?
Well, yeah, because it's totally unfair and I'm being discriminated
So
against.
the Birdhouse is committed to creating an anti-racist environment.
I'm not
We
racist.
recognize that racism does not only present itself
My family
in the
is
terms of
Black
floor,
and Native.
hate speech, or
My
physical
cousins are half Black and my other cousins are half
Are you
Native.
Black?
And I'm Jewish and Celtic. And Celtic people have dreadlocks.
This story gets even weirder. But for now, I'm Drea Humphrey, and let's begin with hearing from Crystal Clearly. Tell us what happened. You came to this space, to this venue. Why were you here, and how were you treated when you entered?
Well, I was here for an event, a really amazing event actually, called Bastard's Barbecue, and they're awesome, so none of this is... But when I got here, I was greeted and said, hold on a minute, we've got a security breach. And I was like, okay, anyways. And then the lady went off and she got her piece of paper and she came back and she told me that I couldn't come in because my hair could potentially be offensive to Black people.
But I guess supposedly since I have wool in my hair, I'm not allowed in. And there's a big voucher thing that they want me to read and sign, and they want to give me, they want to refund my money and not let me in, and I just paid $60.
I had it in, this is wool, so I had it a little bit looser, and you could see it. I pleaded with them and told them that I didn't mind to put it in a braid, that I'd really like to come in, but they actually wouldn't let me.
And now I can't get in because of my hair.
It was included in, when you bought your ticket, it was included, our culture appropriation policy was included when you bought your ticket, when you, in the description of the event. So it is something that was put out ahead of time.
A lot of people were upset when they saw that, but you were living it. Of course, you were visibly getting upset. One of the most shocking parts is when you finally say, oh my gosh, I've driven all of these hours. The reason my hair's this way is because I was at a rave or something like that. Let me just take it out and then I'll come in. And they still say this.
I'm not here to debate.
Yeah, but this is that I just drove 5 hours to get here.
Also, even that language, I don't want used in the venue as
Oh
well.
my gosh.
So it's we're having a couple
Hey,
different
Jared,
issues here. We're having cultural
This is my
appropriation
buddy right
issue,
here,
and we're also having an
it's
issue
probably-
with saying
I
English
can't get
language.
Jared, they won't, I'm filming right now, but they won't let me in because I have dreadlocks.
What was going through your mind when you were being told that?
Well, I felt like I was being discriminated upon, and it felt a little bit strange that a white lady was speaking on behalf of black people. And it kind of felt to me like what happened to black people for so long is they got discriminated on for how they look, and they weren't allowed into spaces because of it. And in my opinion, two wrongs don't make a right, and I would really not like to see this sort of thing start happening again, because this type of power, or whatever you want to call it, it could really go the wrong way if it's not used appropriately. Because one, nobody asked me what my ethnicity was when I got here. Nobody asked me what my religious standing was when I got here. It was all assumed. They saw a white girl coming up with wool in her hair, locked hair, and they flat out denied me. There was no what do you call it? Like, there was no changing their mind. There's no reasoning with them at all.
Now, during the interview, I didn't know what to think at that moment. Crystal clearly claims they weren't apologizing for how she was treated, despite people being clearly upset by that, including Crystal herself, and instead were basically blaming her and pressuring her to take it down. So, of course, I asked to see if that was true. And boy, was it ever. Take a look at this email interaction, which starts off nice from Page Viewer, or AKA Pony Boy. I thought after we had a handshake sort of deal, you were going to take the video down when we let you in. I'm sure this wasn't the intention of that video, but it seems to have been picked up by some right-wing people, and we're now getting messages from across several platforms, including slurs and death threats. And we know many of these could be empty threats, but in this moment, with such an increase of homophobic and transphobic violence on such a rise, we are getting concerned, and our staff are worried about coming to work. Now, the intent here is, of course, to get Crystal clearly to take the video down, and when she hesitates and says, I'm not exactly sure yet. I mean, you guys aren't even apologizing for the way you treated me. I was so hurt. I was discriminated against. And besides, millions have already seen that video, according to impressions. Well, that's when she tries to appeal more by saying, well, we might have to actually cancel our trans kids prom for kids event that we have going on if you don't. Crystal still needed some time to think about it, so in comes co-owner Riz Braz as the bad cop. Braz says, I work at the Birdhouse and somehow my phone number has now been shared on right-wing extremist forums, and I am getting calls with people screaming the N-word, even though she doesn't appear to be black. And I got the first call last night and then a dozen more from different numbers. I've stopped answering and now I'm going to change my number, and that they had to sleep at someone else's house. Now, if this happened, this is serious. I'll get back to that in a second, but pay attention to the wording here. I hear that you've been hurt by us, but now your video has been picked up by right-wing extremists, and now the venue and individuals in our community are getting death threats. That wasn't your intention, but it's become the impact. Now, instead of apologizing and committing to making their policies actually inclusive, and then asking to take the video down, Braz doubles down here, saying that if Crystal doesn't take down the video, Crystal is becoming the face of these so-called white supremacists who have been weaponizing it against them. She says, I don't think these are your beliefs, at least I hope they're not. But now you're getting to be the symbol of these people and organizations. What organizations? We'll get back to that. I hope that you are a decent human being and don't want to be a hero for white power and will take that video down. I realize at this point we are likely going to be doxxed and are already a target, but I hope you have even a small amount of compassion and can see the fear and damage this is doing. I hear how wronged you felt, and it must be nice to be getting so much validation online after feeling hurt with those feelings. But you are getting much of that validation from violent white supremacists, and I really truly hope that you don't want that. Now, threats are something we take seriously. We get threats all the time, bringing people the other side of the story, the truth the mainstream media doesn't want to cover. Reports like this that point out that racism is still racism, no matter who you are being racist to. So I wanted to know if these threats, A, really happened, and if so, what action was being taken. You could see right here, the claim is that they had, in fact, told the police already, as you should if you're really concerned, even though they say here that they know that some of the threats could be frivolous, if you will. Now, Crystal clearly asked to see some of these, and I noticed that during the time that she asked that question, and Paige responded, sure, I'll get that for you, there was a little bit of a break, over an hour. And then when Paige went ahead and sent Crystal clearly the evidence of the threats and the white supremacists, etc., as you will, who are, I guess, coming out of the woodworks to allegedly harass them, I noticed that 3 of the more critical and frightening threats were all around the same timestamp. And if that was, in fact, the same day that she was talking to Crystal, and Crystal clearly had just asked for evidence, that timestamp would have been right after she asked for evidence. So I didn't know what to make of that. So, of course, I reached out to the VPD. I asked them if they had heard or are investigating any such threats coming through the birdhouse. At first, they had troubles finding it, and I helped them find it. I pointed out this threat, which is from one of the upcoming performers, Sam, here, and they basically finally said, okay, we found the threats, but all the threats that we received were vague. Vague would be like the other ones before those 3 consecutive ones in the timestamp, which seems very suspicious, of course. And so I said, are you sure they're vague? These are what they say. I said, I want to make sure I'm reporting that the VPD isn't calling these types of complaints under the suspicious timeline vague as well. The VPD later sort of vaguely confirmed that they probably don't have all of the information that I have, which led me to think that my suspicion that perhaps some random unknown accounts, probably the same person, was making these complaints that seem less direct. And then maybe when Crystal was needing evidence to see how serious it was, something needed to happen and be big, and these came out. I don't know. But I went ahead and made sure to do what you should do if you really are worried about your staff, and give the police all of the threats. And I did so with Crystal Clearly's backing. Because again, this isn't about supporting racism. This is about shedding light on racism from entitled people like that running the birdhouse, who, by the way, in some ways, I guess, have had their ways, because the since gone viral TikTok video has been removed. That's right. Crystal Clearly, as sweet as can be, as you've learned, has sent me this screenshot. You can no longer find the video because after birdhouse owners failed to make her take it down, poof, magically, TikTok did, for the following reason. Slurs being against a protected attributes. You mean like protected hairstyles? I've left more information about the so-called appropriation policy for inclusivity in the written article below in the description box, which the owners say was led by Black queer people who just wanted to be treated equal. But you'll note that Crystal Clearly in this report pointed out that it was a Rasta man himself who came out to her defense before she was reluctantly let in.
Well, as soon as I got here, I think I had a little bit of like, oh my gosh, like what the heck is everybody looking at me? I felt a little paranoid, to be honest, just because now I'm actually thinking about stuff that I had never ever thought about before, that was never actually an issue to me. And so it's like walking in here is kind of just like triggering. It's triggering.
I don't know about you, but in 2025, I believe that Martin Luther King is rolling over in his grave when woke social justice warriors like the staff and owners at the Birdhouse think this is how you address racism. Drea Humphrey for Rebel News. At Rebel News, we don't back down, bringing you the other side of the story. And if you appreciate what we do, you can be a part of making that possible in a very fun way. You can check out some of our merchandise for yourself or a friend at our website called rebelnewsstore.com. And you can even save when you shop there using our coupon code DREA10 when you do.